Okay, so yesterday I showed you how to make these delicious yellow cakes. They've been sitting in the freezer. I pulled them out this morning, probably about an hour and a half ago. So I also pulled out some butter. So we have half a cup of butter and half a cup of shortening, 4 cups of sifted powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. We have our mixing bowl here, and we have our whip attachment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a buttercream icing. We're going to start by putting our softened butter and shortening into our mixing bowl here, and we're going to whip it up a little bit. And when it's all nice and fluffy, we'll add our vanilla, and then we'll add our powdered sugar. If we need to, we can add a little bit of milk to thin it out, or a little bit more powdered sugar to thicken it up if we need to. We could also flavor this with almond extract, which is very popular for that typical wedding cake flavor, or any number of other various things. If we wish to make a chocolate buttercream, along with this powdered sugar, we could sift in cocoa powder. That would make a delicious chocolate buttercream frosting as well. So this is a basic white buttercream frosting to go on our yellow cake. So first off, butter and shortening into the mixer, and we'll whip it up. When your butter and shortening is soft and fluffy like this, then we can add our vanilla. Once the vanilla has been added in, we can begin by taking maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of this sifted powdered sugar and put it into our mixing bowl. We're going to start by stirring it around, then we'll move it up to a higher speed until we've added all of this and we have a nice thick icing consistency. So all my powdered sugar is added in. It's looking a little stiff, so what I'm going to do now is add a little bit of milk, a couple of drops at a time, until it's the consistency that I want. That's good, about right there. Okay, so I've scraped the bowl down, and now I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to crank it all the way up and spin it around on high for about 10 seconds. Okay, so we move it to another bowl, stir it around, fold it a few times with our spatula, and it's ready to be used. Okay, so to assemble the cake, we have a cake turntable right here. I have a cutting board. We need to cut the humps off the top of the cake. I have a piece of parchment paper to catch all the extraneous little crumbs, because there will be crumbs. I have a couple of spatulas here, and I have a serrated knife. I have a regular plate that I'm going to use for a cake plate. I normally have a cake plate, but I don't have one with me here today. So we're going to put the cake on this today, okay? And then I have my icing that I've already showed you. And so I'm going to take my first cake layer, I'm going to put it on the cutting board. And it's on a turntable to help me cut nice and straight. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to determine how high do I want this cake to be by looking at it from all of my different angles, okay? There's a little higher here than it is right here, higher here than it is right here, so I'm going to kind of split the difference and kind of come right around right here, and I'm going to do this, okay? So all I'm going to do is keep my knife nice and straight and level. I'm going to kind of go in about 1 inch or so, and I'm going to turn the cake while gently kind of sawing the knife blade back and forth, back and forth. Now remember, this was a frozen cake, All right. Once I've gone all the way around, I can just start taking bigger little cuts again and just take that right off, nice and level. Put it on the cutting board there. Okay. Beautiful, nice, soft cake. I'm going to take my cake plate, a little bit of icing, and that's going to act as the glue that's going to hold my cake together, or on my cake plate. I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to kind of center it, and then I'm going to flip the cake onto the plate. And then remove the plastic. Get my cake nice and level and straight in the center. Okay. And there's one layer. Okay. Now I'm going to take a spatula, scoop out some of my icing here, and right in the center, I'm going to put some icing. Okay. I'm just going to kind of spread my icing around my center of my cake here. Some people have piping bags with a really large, wide, flat tip, and they'll fill this up. That is a great tool to spread icing in a nice even layer and really speed the process up. But this works well. We're not going for any awards. Nice, flat, straight. That's all we want. Nice, flat, and straight. All right? Perfect. All right? Now, we'll take this and move this off to the side. Put our cutting board back on. Repeat the process with our next cake. Now, to put this layer on top of this one, it's a smaller cake, so I can do this and handle it. If it was a larger cake, you would need maybe one or two people to help you flip this over, okay? So the cut side of this cake is gonna go on the icing, okay? We want the bottom of the pan, or the cake that was on the bottom of the pan, to be on the top, just like we want the bottom to be on the top here, so we have flat, even surfaces to work with, okay? So we're gonna take this cake and line it up and set it in nice and even, and give it a little push down to make sure it's sitting nice and level. And there is 2 levels on our cake there, okay? Now, we can go and put what we call a crumb coat, right? What a crumb coat is gonna do is it's a very thin layer of icing designed to catch any crumbs that may be on the outside of the surface. Okay, so I'm going to finish doing this, and when we come back, it'll be done. Now that the base coat has had a chance to firm up a little bit, I can begin by putting the rest of my icing on here and kind of thicken this up and hide some of the cake that's underneath. Put some on, and then again, easing the icing into place. I'm going to do that over the whole cake. If you're a beginner, take your time. With a little time and a little patience, your finished product could look like this. No crumbs, no cake showing through. This cake is now ready for decoration, coloring, fondant, or anything your imagination can go.